How you doing? So here are the top 5 best champions of 2022. This is a disclaimer. This is just my professional opinion. Sarcasm. So keep that in mind. So always play with the champions you like and who you think are the best champions in the game. But with these type 5 champions I'm about to mention, you're gonna do really well in this game and probably the best top 5 champions in the game. So let's look at number 5. Number 5, it's Hulkling. As you can see, I have him unawakened. I think even though he's unawakened, he's an okay champion. I do think at max sig, really, he's going to be a good champion because let's look at his awaken ability or signature ability. So when he's, you know, awakened to max sig, he gains buff duration when it comes to his bulwark buff. That I believe that's gonna be great. That's gonna increase his, obviously get having more buffs on him. Also, not only that, he gets up to 3 seconds duration on his fury buff, which will, make him hit harder in the longer run. He also has up to X amount of armor penetration for each active personal pierce buff on the opponent. So you be able to hit much harder on the opponent's block. So his awaken ability is basically uh, to increase his damage. So I think even though he's not unawakened, he's an okay champion. But at max sig, he's really good champion. I think, and I think he's pretty overpowered with synergy as well. So unfortunately, he doesn't really have a good synergy on his own. So I think what do I have? If you have, since he's a cosmic, you would have, I would say, bring Mr. Fantastic, Angela to increase buff duration. It pauses for like 0.2 seconds for every hit. I believe that's how it is. As well as Odin, that will also give him extra buffs. What else? And Heimdall. Heimdall with Angela, that will get you an extra fury buff. Also with Odin, if you have access to his free fight ability, that also will increase your fury buff potency, and that will also give him more buffs. So which will increase his damage. So I really like this champion with full synergy. If he's going to be really good with full synergy, he's practically overpowered. If he only had a synergy that's similar to Angela, where his buff potency increased for every fight that he wins, it would be the best champion in the game. He would like every time he triggers a regen, he's gonna pretty much be back to 100%, and every time what, and his damage would be one of the highest, and actually would be the highest in the game if he had a similar synergy like Angela. That increases buff potency every time he wins. So he's number 5 on the list. So let's look at number 4 on the list. Number 4 on the list, it's Omega Sentinel. This champion right here can do so much in the game. Right now, I think he's bugged. His debuffs are not pulsing, so nobody really wants to play with her. So his damage is very stressful to play, and her damage is not up to his full potential. I don't know. I don't think they haven't fixed it yet when it comes to his to the bugs. But you never know with Kabam. There's always bugs in the game, and they don't really do anything about it. That's probably the biggest downfall of the game. But this champion can do so much. I made a video on like the best qualities in the game. She has not only has the best utilities in the game, but she has so many of them. She can become energy resistance, and she can also gain her armor up to 50% of her armor up every time she uses it. And that's what makes her pretty tanky. She's able to tank SP3s. Not only that, every time you inflict a bleed and poison on her, it actually helps her because she gains a regen. She self repair buff healing 20% of her missing health. So important that it's missing health. So if you're like at 90% or 80% health, that's not gonna make much difference. But if you're like at 1% health, that's gonna be, yeah, obviously gonna be at least 20%. And if you have recovery mastery, it's gonna be even more. And if you had like Mr. Fantastic Synergy, that's going to increase even more. It gains up to 30 plus 35% potency. So her damage is pretty good. She's more of a ramp up champion where you really want to keep her pawns. What do you call those? What do you call those? Um, Synergy, incinerate. So if you can keep your incinerate on the opponent, she's gonna last pretty. Like her damage is gonna be pretty good, like one of the highest in the game. So that's why she's like one of our ramp up champion. Like I mentioned earlier, she's a bit stressful to play because her debuff is not staying. I believe that is definitely a bug. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So there's so many things she can do. Just on her pre-5 ability, she can inflict cowardice debuff, which is great against mutants. Mostly mutants. Inflict heal block on the opponent. In what is this? Inflict a tracking debuff, so you can be able to counter mist because there's champions that have inflicts mist, like what is that? Ebony Maw. There's nodes that inflicts mist, like a falter debuff. It has so many immunity as well. Immunity to nullify, stagger, and face seal. Also against mutants, her ability accuracy cannot be modified. So like red Magneto or white Magneto, she's gonna do just fine against those champions. And like I mentioned earlier, her armor up buff is really good, and she also has a safety net when it comes to her auto block. So, so like I mentioned, like this champion, she's just like look at it. Mega Sentinel adaptive body grants her immunity to nullify, stagger, and phases. Not only that, look at the beginning. It says adaptive body, so she can adapt to a lot of things in the game. If more champions come out or more nodes that inflict bleed or poison, she's gonna do well. More mutants come in the game, she's gonna do well. More champions that can inflict nullify, stagger, and face seal, she's gonna do fine in those matches as well because she's immune to those things. What would make her probably really good if she was like she gained some kind of like extra utility every time she was inflicted with immunity, like nullify, stagger, and fate seal. She would be like really probably number one champion against what do you call this? Mystic. Maybe not number one, probably number two to Torch because Torch is probably unanimously the best champion against Mystic. But I would say at least number two for sure. If she was like she gains a like what do you call this? Some kind of like utility every time she gets inflicted with the nullify staggered face seal, which is immune to. So she's number 4 on the list. And let's look at number 3. Number 3 on the list, it's Quicksilver. When I first saw Quicksilver, I thought he could be the best science champion in the game without synergy. I still think there is still some potential when it comes to Quicksilver. He is not easy to use, as I mentioned when I do my first deep dive. When it comes to Quicksilver, he does have a lot of utilities, you know, which I went over in my one of my videos. I'm not gonna go over all of them today so much, but he's pretty much like a kind of like a hybrid of Kitty Pryde and Quake. That's why I think he has a lot of potential in the game. Like he's able to uh, dex specials that most opponents cannot dex, which is great about him. And he's basically like he has good, somewhat a pretty good power control. That's why I like about Quicksilver. So you know, probably what makes him underrated is that his playstyle. You know, not many people like his playstyle. When I play with him, it's kind of awkward to play with him because you don't know when to stop pressing the buttons, or because you're just tapping the screen. You're just like, when are you gonna stop hitting the button? You know, so his playstyle is not for everybody, for sure. But I think if you're a skill player, you're patient. I can see him potentially be the best science champion in the game without synergies. So let's look at number 3. Number 2. So we're now on number 2. Number 2 is Galen. Galen. I think even though he's not number 1 in this most important champion in the game for 2022, I think he's the most valuable because of his Herald synergy. So his Herald synergy, allows cosmic champions to become immune to power burn, not immune, but reduces power burn effects by 100%. So technically, even though it says 100%, it's not immune, but it's pretty much just nearly the same. So basically, it's great against uh, Herald ability, like what do you call this? It's great. So you don't have opponents if you that they cannot be power burned pretty much, and also he reduces opponents' damage resistance for the Herald by 7%. So up to 5 victories, so that would be 35% damage resistance. So this is great. Really makes like Hercules, after 5 wins as a Herald, arguably broken. Which I'm gonna talk about in a different video where I put him as a rank in my top 10 best champions in MCOC. But with the Herald synergy, he's arguably, the best champion in the game. That's debatable, of course, but really, of course you'd have to be running damage mastery, and you have him at max sig for him to be like considered one of the best champions in the game, and you need his Herald synergy. I'd auto fight Realm of Legends Vision with a 4 star, 4 star, dude, with his Herald ability as well. So I think at full synergy, especially with the Herald synergy, you could make an argument he's the best champion in the game. One of the best for sure, minimum top 5, I would say. So let's talk about Galen. Galen, he's good in the right matches. He cannot be. He's pretty much immune to stun. If you have him awaken, he's also, what is this? When it comes to signature ability, awaken. Whenever Galen prevents a power drain, power burn, power lock, or special lock effect from a non-mystic champion via immunity, he gains 1 indefinite physical resistance. So it's actually goes much higher than that if you have him at max sig, but it's nice thing to have in those situations. If you have a max sig, he ramps up so fast. You know, while Harvest is active, Galen becomes stun immune and deals a burst of 22.36 direct damage whenever Galen gains any amount of planetary mass. So you definitely want him awakened at the very least, and that will make him stun immune. But you really have him to max sig to benefit from his from his immunities. So let's look at his immunities. Galen Otherworld Nature provides immunity to Fate Seal and Nullify, which is kind of weird that they did that for a Cosmic Champion, because that's one of the strongest point when it comes to Mystic, is to be able to apply Fate Seal and Nullify an opponent. I guess they figured that Mystic is too overpowered. I don't know, but they decided to make who's a Cosmic Champion to become immune to Fate Seal and Nullify. He's also, what is this? He grants him immunity to Power Drain, Power Burn, Power Lock, and Special Lock. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 things. So that's really good for certain nodes as well as champions that can inflict those those things. So which is mostly a lot of tech champions, of course. So and he has class advantage against those champions, So which is great. So he's a great counter for like Nimrod. I know a lot of champions have Nimrod, so he's great for those against those champions. So let's look at number 1. And number 1 best champion, unanimous best champion of 2022 is Falcon. No, I was just kidding. Okay. So if you like Falcon, and you think he's the best champion in the game, don't let me stop you. Rank him up as high as you want. If you think he's fun to play with, that's what the game is about. So if you like Captain America Sam Wilson, then you should rank him up. I did call him Falcon, but his name in the game is Captain America Sam Wilson. So the number 1 best champion in the game. Oh, not best champion in the game, but not only the best champion of 2022, but the best science champion in the game unanimously is Scorpion. I've said this since his abilities on Div Dive came out that without a doubt he's going to be the best science champion in the game, and really hard to argue with that. This guy is unanimously the best champion of 2022, and I think best science champion in the game without a doubt. This guy, I mean, I've talked about him so much, so I'm probably not gonna talk about him too much today, but as I mentioned when I went over him, this guy has so many things in the game. He's like he has so many immunities. I mean, yeah, he has three immunities. He can be immune to poison, shock, and rupture. What else? He can inflict three different damage: poison, shock, and rupture. He can also, from his awakened ability, he's able to, you know, what is this? Block unblockable specials from non non skilled champions. If he's awakened, if you have a taunt on the opponent, he's also be able to heal from from certain opponents if they have a regen on them or even just willpower. So that's why I think makes him great when it comes to Alliance War and like Battlegrounds, because he's able to heal through willpower, and that's what makes him like one of the best champions in the game for sure. If he had this ability against every champion in the game, like I mean every champion in the game has a regen or some kind of willpower, he would be the best science champion in the game. When it comes to Scorpion, there's no doubt he's the best science champion in the game and the best champion of 2023. And you'll see plenty of videos of Scorpion doing amazing things. His damage is pretty nuts, especially with the Venom synergy, where he gains extra attack for every debuff he applies on an opponent. Unfortunately, I only have him as a 4-star, so I don't have that synergy. But if you do have a 5 or a 6-star Scorpion, you can bring Venom in your team and you get this massive damage. You know, I've talked about him plenty of times. If you do follow my channel, you know how I feel about him. I was the most, besides Diablo, I would say he's the champion I was most excited for to come out. You know, I've talked about him plenty of times. So what do you guys think of the top 5 best champions of 2022? Do you have your own top 5 best champions of 2022? If you do, let me know in the comment section. Thank you.